Well, howdy partners, I'm Mike Levy.
Hello, I'm Alicia Leggett.
And this is definitely not the Pacific Northwest. The last time you guys saw us do this, we were freezing our toes off up in BC.
This time around, we're in the sunny and very warm Tucson, Arizona, where we've been battling rattlesnakes, befriending scorpions, and riding mountain bikes. This time we have 9 mountain bikes on trial. There are 5 full suspensions ranging from $2,600 to $3,500 US, and the rest are 4 hardtails topping out at around $2,000.
And while you could argue that all of these bikes are trail bikes of some kind or another, it's definitely interesting to see how the brands approach the challenge of making a good bike for a reasonable amount of money. Now let's go over there and check out the contenders. Okay, Beta MTB battery, let me read through this thing. We love doing these field tests. They're a hell of a lot of work. We try to make useful, honest feedback about these bikes. Consider subscribing to Beta MTB because you get early access to field test videos. Does that mean you guys need to edit them sooner as well? And you also get bonus content. And someone wrote that you get the best long form riding in mountain biking. Palmer probably wrote that. Link in the description below. It's half off. It's only 24 bucks a year right now. I can almost afford that. 7 cents a day. And if you can't afford it, don't worry, because we're going to be putting these videos on YouTube daily as per usual. Link in the description below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and then do a call out. Yeah, okay, let's do this. It all starts here with the $2,600 Kona Process 134. Now the name tells you how much travel it has, and Kona has spec'd 140mm RockShox Recon RL fork, a Dior drivetrain, and brakes from Alhonga? That should be interesting. And speaking of interesting, Specialized is calling this color Satin Blaze. Now you tell me, all black or... The entry-level stump jumper alloy costs $2,650, and it has 130mm of rear wheel travel. Now Specialized has installed 140mm RockShox 35 silver fork, and it's running an SX drivetrain. Let's go take a look at our next bike that's from Fazari. This is the 130mm travel Cascade Peak. Now Fazari has spec'd 140mm DVO diamond fork on there, and I gotta say, it's interesting to be riding something completely different. It also gets a GX drivetrain, and all that adds up to $3,000. Our next bike, well, it jumps up to $3,400. It's the YT Izzo Core 2, but that gets you a carbon fiber front triangle and aluminum rear end, and YT has spec'd an NX drivetrain. Now, just in case you weren't paying attention, that's the exact opposite approach of Fazari, so we'll see how these two play out. But to be honest, our last bike is probably a better match against the YT. It's Canyon Spectral 125 AL6, and it has precisely 0 carbon fiber. But I'll tell you what it does have: an SLX drivetrain, SLX 4-piston brakes, and a Fox 36 versus the YT's 34.
Moving on to the hardtails, we'll start with the questionably named but undoubtedly sturdy Diamondback Sinker. The $1,500 Sinker is one of 2 27.5 bikes we have here on test, and it'll be really interesting to see how those 2.8-inch tires stack up on these loose and very pointy desert rocks. Now, the Diamondback's main competition seems like it'll be this Commensal Meta HT AM Origin. Like the Diamondback, this hardtail costs $1,500 as well, but unlike the Sinker's 140mm of travel up front, this one gets 160, so it seems like it may be a little more prepared for business, aside from not having a dropper post. And speaking of not having a dropper, our next bike bumps up in price just a little bit to $1,589, and that's the Marin Team Marin 1. It gets 29-inch wheels, a 120mm fork, and those are definitely not 2.8-inch tires. And to spice things up a bit, we have our priciest hardtail here on test, the Salsa Timberjack XT29. The Timberjack might be a little more fun, as Salsa says it's its do-it-all hardtail, and it gets 29-inch wheels, a 130mm fork, and a cool dropout design with swappable plates that let you change the length of the chainstays or run it as a single speed.
So those are our 9 test bikes, and that means that it's time to talk about how we're evaluating them, mostly while trying not to get slapped in the face by a prickly pear. First things first, none of these bikes are getting control tires. These are all value-minded bikes, and I want to know, and you want to know, how they perform out of the box, not how they ride after we've installed $250 worth of expensive rubber.
Speaking of all that, I am terribly sad to announce that there will be no efficiency test this time around, but we'll replace it with something that might be even better. We're gonna go for a deep dive into spec choices, talk about what works, what doesn't, and what you should maybe look for if you're shopping for a bike on a budget.
Well, we ditched the efficiency test. We've got Matt Beer in town to do the impossible climb and the huck to flat. These bikes don't get off easy just because they don't cost 9 grand.
Now, I think some thank yous are in order, so shout out to Copper Spoke Cycles and also to Nerona Clothing, who kept us kitted out all week. Thanks also to the video crew, who spent way too much time getting sunburned before they spent way too much time in the editing room trying to make us look half decent. They have way more patience than either of us.
Stay tuned for more videos from the 2022 Value Bike Field Test. Alicia, I think it's time for us to saddle up and go for a ride. Say it. Say it.
Yeehaw.